back to another new episode of Tinfoil Tales. I'm your host, Brandon. Tonight we're going to be joined by my guest, John. Now, John had a encounter back in 2010 with what he now believes to be the infamous Dogman that we've been diving into here lately. This happened to him at Fort Polk down in Louisiana when he was stationed there. It was a terrifying experience that I'm sure a lot of us would not want to have on our own consciousness to talk about, but it is an experience that he's had, and he was kind enough to come on here and share it with us. I believe this is the first time he's actually spoke publicly about it, so definitely appreciate that. Anyone out there listening, if you'd like to be on an episode of Tinfoil Tales, all you got to do is send an email to tinfoiltalespodcast@gmail.com, and we'll get you scheduled on a future episode. You can find us on Facebook. That's usually where I do most of my social media. We're also on Instagram and X. You follow us on YouTube. That's where all these episodes are getting posted up as well. Not to mention they're on all the streaming services. So Spotify, Apple, wherever you find your podcast at, we're on there as well. If you'd like to leave us a review, the 5-star review option does help out the podcast. It makes it a little bit more visible for someone else to discover it. More people to discover the podcast, more chances of getting more guests on here to share their encounters and their stories with us. So if you do that, it's definitely appreciated. I will be appearing at Para-Unity 5, October 21st in Miami County, Indiana. I'll have the podcast rig out there, so if you want to come up and talk with me, have some stories you'd like to throw my way, we can record that. Be a fun time. Be a lot of cool vendors out there. It's definitely one of those things that you can bring the family to. It's all free. It'll be a good time. We're going to go ahead now and dive on into our story with John. So again, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. I'd like to take this time to welcome my guest tonight, John. John, thanks for coming on here and talking with me.
Hey, nice talking to you, Brandon.
Yeah, nice to meet you. I know we've chit-chatted here a little bit back and forth, but for anyone out there listening, do you want to give a little bit of information about yourself and stuff before we dive into your encounter?
Sure. I'm going to say before my encounter, I was a full-blown atheist, so I didn't believe in anything. So you want to come to me and talk about ghosts and the paranormal, I'll be the type of person that literally try to debunk it or literally just, pretend you're crazy. So having that sort of like 180-degree change of view within seconds is something that was kind of bizarre for me. I'm originally from Peru, so you can notice I have an accent. I moved to the United States in 2007. I got the privilege to join the military, and I spent 5 years in the Army. And it was during my first year in the Army, that's when I had my encounter, when I was stationed at Fort Polk, Louisiana. If I'm not mistaken, the change got named to Fort Johnson, but back in the day, 2010, it was Fort Polk still. So,
yeah. Now, did you actually, before we get into it, were you on the base when you saw this, or was it just around the base, or how did that happen?
No, it was inside the base. The thing is, inside Fort Polk, there is a massive area that we call it the box, where there is like fake civilian towns, fake military bases. It's a massive area that we use it for training purposes. And yeah, it happened during when I was actually inside the base.
Okay. Well, if you want to start from the beginning, it's all yours.
Sure. Well, this happened in 2010. I was a brand new private out of Fort Knox. I was a 19 Delta, Cap Scout. Then I went to Fort Benning to finish my airborne training to become a paratrooper. Now, just a small disclaimer: what I'm about to say, I'm not violating any Department of Defense, policies, because literally you can Google everything that I'm about to say, specifically related to locations, for Polk, the box, whatever. So getting that out of the way, my encounter happened in July 2010. I remember it was July because There was a couple of weeks after we had the whole full, 4th of July celebrations and things. We had a couple of days off. We call it 4-day weekends. You get, from Friday to Monday off. So, but it happened in July. That's what I remember. That. Plus, it was pretty freaking hot. Louisiana gets pretty freaking hot in the summer. I live in South Florida and it's pretty hot. The only difference in Louisiana, you're surrounded by woods, and you can find mosquitoes that are the size of freaking helicopters. Yeah, it's pretty nasty, man. I gotta be honest. So, one of the things I want to say related to my experience is my unit is part of what is called the GRTC. It's called the Joint Residence Training Center. So, if there is a unit, let's say, 82nd Airborne from North Carolina, they're about to deploy to Afghanistan, they will come through us and we will play as insurgents. So we will set up IDs, we will dress up, the basic, type insurgent. They will, it's kind of like you expect to see, and that was pretty much it. So that's why they go inside the box where there's like fake civilian, towns and fake military bases, and we will literally just go around, assaulting and attacking them all over the place. For their specific mission, the task and purpose for my platoon was to harass this specific military base that was located kind of northwest in the box. And the plan was to harass them throughout the night to mess up with their sleep, because the next day is supposed to be a full-blown attack. They would try to overrun this military base. So the idea was to one group will go around 1 a.m, harass them. The other group will go around like 3 a.m. The other group around like, 4 a.m. So the idea was to mess up with the sleep. At that time, I was attached to a sergeant. He was an E5. He was carrying a M4 carbine. I was carrying a 240 Bravo machine gun. And if you're brand new in the military, it's a pretty heavy weapon. Eventually, you don't feel it. But as a brand new private, it was not a pleasure. It was not a pleasant thing to walk around with this sort of weapon. It was pretty heavy. Plus, I was carrying around 150 rounds, so 7.62 rounds. Now, one of the main things that we do inside the box, we don't use live ammunition. All the ammunition that we have is blanks. And in every weapon system, we have what is called the BFA, blank firing attachment. Some people call it the blank firing adapter. And there is like specific thing that kind of is at the area end of the muzzle. And it kind of helps also with the gases inside the weapon system, because 99% of the weapon systems that we use are actually gas function. I don't know how to call it. I'm sorry, kind of got lost in there. But if you talk to any people in the military, most weapons hate blanks. They jam all the time. They're pretty nasty to clean, but it's still pretty loud. So me carrying that 240 Bravo machine gun in this woods, it can be pretty goddamn loud. So the idea was to get into this pickup truck. It was a very beat up truck that we had as G-men, and then we will approach this military base from the south. We will park the vehicle in a very concealed area, and then we'll dismount and we will walk. So that's what we did. I got my 240 Bravo machine gun, and we start walking. And I gotta be honest, the area was not pretty. You remember me? I was tripping all over the place. I twisted my ankle like 3 times. It was not a pleasant area to walk through, and it was almost like we were almost like 10 to 15 minutes into the mission when my sergeant stopped and said, "Crap, I forgot my radio." And that's a massive no-go. If you lose communication with your chain of command, that's it's kind of like forgetting your own weapon system. So he was freaking out at a point and say, we have to go back. And I say, fuck this shit, no, I'm not doing that. I was already, like I say, I was tripping all over the place. So when I say, Sergeant, if you want, I can wait for you here. And he was like, yeah, that's perfect. Because you've been tripping all over the place, you've been, getting stuck in every branch and, bush you can find the way, wait for me here. Just lay in the prone position. I'll be back. And that's what I did. I remember I did kind of like a 360 area that was looking for some specific place to lay it down. And that's it. I just found a small spot, even though it was pitch black. As historians, we were not able to have night vision goggles, but it was not full moon, but there was some sort of illumination coming from the sky. I don't remember what type of moon we had, but I was able to see, some basic things around, even though everything was pitch black. So I lay in the prone position, and that's it. Now, I want you to picture an analog clock, okay? Because this is important for the events that are going to happen. What I'm saying is, for example, 12 o'clock is in front of you, 6 o'clock is behind you, 3 o'clock is to my right, 9 o'clock is to my left. Okay, we use that sort of communication in the military all the time. I don't like, hey, cover my 6. It's kind of the saying, watch my back. So I lay in the prone position, and I was facing the direction that we were walking, because that was the American base that we were supposed to go and attack. At one point, I could hear my sergeant. He was walking away, and at one point, I didn't hear him no more. And I gotta be honest, even though as a full-blown atheist at a time, being in the middle of the woods by yourself, in the middle of nowhere, pitch black, it was very, very creepy. Plus, we were actually almost 36 hours into missions, so we were kind of a little bit of sleep deprived. And when you sleep deprived, your mind starts playing tricks on you. I remember seeing shadows moving here and there, hearing noises. It was pretty bizarre, but I kept telling to myself, hey, there's nothing there. Chill, relax. But I cannot deny it. It was, as a city guy, being in the middle of the woods by myself, it was one of the creepiest moments I ever had. Now, this is when everything started. As a city guy, I was not able to understand it, what happened. But now that I was told to listen to different interviews and do some basic research, when the woods go quiet, it's because you're not alone. And it happened like so quick. It's like you literally flip a switch. I was laying there, and it's like you literally flip a switch, and everything around me went quiet. Just little crickets and frogs were all over the place in Fort Polk, went quiet. And that now I was already freaked out, by being by myself in the woods in the middle of nowhere. But now this kind of like, what the hell is going on? But I kept trying to rationalize it to maybe it's the Americans, Blue Force. We call them Blue Force. Maybe they're coming, but I keep, my senses were pretty high. I was listening to everything around me, even though I didn't have any night vision goggles, but I kept, I was able to see everything around me in a way, but I was not able to see anything, nobody. So I was trying to find an explanation, like, what the hell is this? What the hell is happening? What is it? Why the woods went quiet? But like I say, I was saying this to the Americans, but I didn't hear anything. And I gotta say, within 10 seconds to my 10 o'clock, I was able to see this red light. I don't know if it's related to what happened, but I just want to put in there because it literally was between when the whole situation happened. It was a bright red light that was very low to the ground. I was not able to see the actual source, but I was able to see how it was illuminating a couple of trees on the sides and some of the bushes. Now, in the Army, we have, flashlights and whatever. And we also have red filters for tactical purposes. And most flashlights or headlamp have three settings. You have the low beam, you have the high beam, you have the strobe. But this was pulsating. It was it was bizarre about it. It got really bright, gonna dim again, got bright again, and then it just stopped. So for a second, and this thing was kind of like to like 10 o'clock, maybe like 100 yards away. But I was not able to see the actual source, but I was still thinking maybe these Americans are here somehow. Somehow they got, sneak up on me. Maybe they were dealing with Navy SEALs or Delta Force, whatever. I don't know. I was kind of like trying to explain it away why I'm not able to see, full platoon of, infantry guys coming through the woods, but just this specific red light. And also why the woods went quiet. And that's when I hear something to my 7 o'clock. And when I move my body to look kind of behind me, that's when I noticed this black thing that was behind a bush. It looked like a boulder. It was pitch black. And I don't remember seeing that because, like I said, before my sergeant left, I was looking around me to find a place to lay down. But I didn't remember seeing that boulder. But it was so unusual. It was pitch black. And I was like, what the hell is that? But like I say, my brain kept going like, hey, maybe it's just Americans. Get your shit together. It's Americans. So what I did, for example, I want to give you an idea. The 240 Bravo machine gun, at the base of the barrel, is like a handle that you can grab it. So what I did, I grabbed the handle. I got in my right knee. I was on my knees, my right knee. I got my the bump stock with my right hand, and I kind of twisted to my 7 o'clock to face that area because I truly thought maybe it was just, I don't know, maybe Delta Force were in the post in part of training. They got a snack up on me. So I did this, and when I switched to my 7 o'clock, I was in my right knee. I was holding the 240 Bravo, but still by the handle, the bump stock, and that's when this thing got in 4 legs. That's what I assumed it was 4 legs. Now, I really don't understand if Dogman had the capacity to self-illuminate the eyes, but that's what will happen because as soon as I switched to that direction, even though the whole thing was pitch black, somehow the eyes, there was this little lights that just light up. I don't know if he has his eyes closed or, like I say, he has the capacity to self-illuminate those eyes because while he was racing in 4 legs, the eyes were like little lit up. And I was literally at one point, I was on my right knee, and we were kind of looking like eye to eye straight. So when this thing was in 4 legs, was literally almost 5 feet tall, because I was looking it over this little bush, and I was just facing it. And you could see the pupils in the eyes. It was just the most fascinating thing. It was just the eyes. You had this little orange and yellow type of color. I want to send you a picture because I was able to find a couple of pictures, and I was able to do my little, editing to give an idea of what I saw. So I'll send it to you. But yeah, at one point, I was kind of like eye to eyes with this fucking thing. And I was like, what the hell am I looking at? My brain was not processing. Now, during one of the briefings before you actually go into the base as a soldier, there's a lot of briefings, when it comes to things we're supposed to do, where to buy things. And also in Fort Polk, they give you a briefing related to wildlife, the things they can find in the woods. And the main thing is, don't fuck with the wildlife. They talk about, most people are pretty freaked out about brown reclusive, this nasty old mosquitoes that are all over the place. And also, for example, wild hogs. They can be very territorial. Let's say, if you get up close to where they live, um, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, man, just so they say that they can be very territorial. Now, one of the great things they actually talk about black bears, but they usually, typical wildlife, they usually stay away from humans because in the box there's a whole bunch of explosions and people fighting all the time. We jump out of airplanes in there. So, but I know that they talk about black bears in Louisiana that they usually stay away from the training facility because it's pretty loud. Animals tend to just stay away from humans. So my brain started going to like, is this a freaking bear? Because like I say, I'm a city boy. I never been in the wildlife, so I was not able to explain what I was seeing, but it was just so bizarre seeing this. This thing was massive. Okay. So my brain started thinking, this is a bear. This is a bear. Now, in one of the briefings, I remember somebody actually came with that experience that they had somewhere in I think it was in Mississippi, that if you encounter a bear, you're supposed to make yourself look bigger and, make a lot of noise, and they will usually just run away. So I have this massive weapon. It's a 240 Bravo machine gun. But I have blanks, so I have not offensive weapon. The only thing I remember I had in my right pocket was a 4-inch blade. And that's it. So I started thinking, the only thing I can do is just probably, just start shooting at this animal with blanks. Hopefully the sound of the 240 Bravo plus, the fire that comes out of the muzzle will be able to scare it away. Because I knew when it comes to fight or flight, I will not be able to, flight. I was not able to, outrun a bear. So I was like, yep. The only thing that came to my head was just to get in 2 feet, get a 240 Bravo, will be from safe to fire, just go to town. And hopefully this animal will just run away. I got a 240 Bravo, kind of like, grabbed in my hand, tried to put it towards my right side, kind of like a Arnold Schwarzenegger Rumble style. I was hoping, start blasting the whole area, hoping this animal would just run away. When I got when I was able to stand up, that's when I hear this growl. It was one of the most insane sounds I ever heard. It's kind of like the way a lion roars, multiplied by 10, but the bass of it, you can literally feel it vibrating inside of you. It was so unbelievable. And I don't know if they do that because they had the capacity to freeze the prey, because that's what happened to me. I went, once I got in 2 legs, I was already, I'm sorry, once I got in 2 feet, I was to put the weapon in, from safe to fire. And when it growled, I froze completely. Nothing was working in my body. I don't remember hearing, some people, talk about, hear your heart beating. I don't remember that. The only thing I remember is just my legs were kind of like getting buried, like I was about to pass out. My legs were like really getting weak, but everything else about my body was frozen. I wasn't able to even move my finger from the right side of the weapon to push it in order to go to fire. I was completely frozen. And that's when this freaking thing got in 2 legs. That's when it stood up. And I'm 6 feet tall, all right? And the thing was literally a little bit over 10 feet away from me, behind this bush. And when it got in 2 legs, it was definitely way over 8 feet tall. If I'm gonna be honest, the calculations, the thing was like definitely 9 feet tall. And I remember seeing from shoulder to shoulder, the thing was just massive. And at one point, my brain was able to actually notice the horns. At the time, I thought it was the horns, but now there was the ears that were really standing up straight. And I was like, what the fuck is this? Am I looking at a demon? Am I close to some sort of like a Native American burial ground, something? Because the thing was just unbelievable. When you see a brother, it's just unbelievable. 9 feet tall, from shoulder to shoulder, it was just massive. And what I thought at the time were the horns, now I know with the ears, but it was something that it would stick out of you. But the thing is, you will never forget is just the eyes. These orange and yellow type of eyes. It was kind of like I was kind of hypnotized by them. They were beautiful and also, I don't know, unrealistic in a way. And when it got in 2 legs, when it stood up in 2 legs, that's when I realized I peed my pants. I start feeling this brown, sort of this warm sensation coming down my legs, and I realized I peed my pants, but I was still frozen. I was not able to scream. I was not able to switch the weapon from safe to fire. The only thing I was able to move is my eyes. And like I said, I was able to see the pupils from this animal. He was looking straight at me. But I was completely frozen. And that's when he did this like, kind of like smell twice, like it was really deep. And then that's when I noticed the set of teeth. Now, when you see a canine or wolf or dog, whatever, you see teeth, you're expecting some sort of growl, but it didn't growl. It just showed the teeth. Now, over the years, kind of looking at different stories that people have and my own research, and now I realized that sucker was laughing. You smell that I pee my pants, and they were just laughing at me. That's the only thing I was explaining, because there was no growling, nothing. He was just showing his teeth. But now that I know, I'm 100% sure he was laughing at me, because we realized I pee my pants. Then it looked to its right, and when it looked to its right, I was able to see that the type of hair. It looked like what lions have. I don't know how lions den, like this big ass hair. And that's when I was like, "What the hell am I looking?" I was extremely confused, scared. It was a whole bunch of emotions at a time. It looks to its right. Then it looked back at me, and it smiled again, and then it just turned to its left. But now, like I say, since this thing was kind of like behind a specific bush, I was not able to see the legs or anything. But the way it turned to its leg, it was kind of like a one single move. Like, for example, we in the military, where we have, like right face, left face, about face. It seems like this thing did like a left face, like the whole body moved towards the left in just one single motion. And I started thinking, please just go away. And then he crouched down a little bit, and I thought it was going to go on 4 legs. And that's when it did the other amazing thing. It just jumped in the air, probably 10 to 15 feet up in the air, and landed, I don't know, maybe like 25 feet away, 30 feet away. But it was so incredible. I really felt I was looking, I really thought I was in a movie or something. It was just unbelievable. Now, for example, when somebody jumps high distance, and it lands, there is a specific moment when you stop, and then your body adjusts itself to the whole situation, and you continue running. Now, when people talk about this concept of I hit the floor running, that's what it did. It was just one single motion, jump on the air. That's when I was able to see the tail, and it landed. And it was very tactical, but it was very heavy. And then the way it moved, it was in the concept of landing and moving forward. It was so fluid, so natural, but the speed was just unbelievable. And when it run towards that direction, I hear something like a fall, like a tree that was falling. I wasn't able to see exactly what happened because that happened like kind of like way too far away from a distance. It was, like I said, it was pitch black. So it felt like a tree was falling to the ground. So now that I'm, kind of like trying to make a picture of what happened, I guess this sucker was running. It was this tree in front of him, and he just pushed it away like it was nothing, and he fall. Because that's what the sound I heard. Because when he run away, you could hear the steps. It was heavy, and then I hear this tree falling. So that's what I think happened. This sucker just, there was a tree in front of him. He just decided to push it out of the way. And now, throughout this time, listen to different people's stories, realize how strong these things are. I'm 100% that's what it did. There was a tree in front of it, and he just pushed it out of the way. Now, at one point, I remember I was standing there, and I remember I kind of look at the ground in front of me and start shaking my head, kind of like trying to wake myself up, because I really thought I was inside of a dream or a nightmare. It was so bizarre. Everything around it was so bizarre. Like I was shaking my head, like trying to wake myself up, but nothing happened. And that's when I heard something to my left, and I was able to get a sort of conscience, and I kind of switched my body towards that position, facing the weapon towards where I heard that sound. And in the darkness, I was able to eventually see, there was a human person. It was a person. It was my sergeant. But I was still frozen in a way. I was kind of like literally pointing my weapon at my sergeant. That's a massive no-go. When it comes to muscle discipline, is you don't point your weapon at a person. But I was still like kind of like frozen there, and he was approaching me, and he was there and kind of like whispering, like saying, "The fuck are you doing? What the hell is this going on?" And he literally slapped the bottle away from him, and he kind of like, he was freaking out because I was flagging him. Plus, I know he got in trouble because since he forgot his radio. My platoon sergeant was already probably chewing his ass, so he was like, "What the hell is wrong with you?" And the only thing I said, "Sergeant, I'm sorry. I think I saw like a bear or something," and he just run. And he was like, "Get your shit together. It was probably a horse. I hear something running. Let's go." So I know he hear it. He was able to hear it. But when he actually said the word horse, I was like, wait a minute. Yeah, one of the briefings before you get into the unit, it was like, there's a lot of wild horses in Louisiana. And I was like, well, horses are big. Yeah, they can jump, they can run. And it was kind of like my atheist moment came back to like, hey, I need to explain this thing away. I just saw a horse. I need to get my stuff together. What is the previous mission? Let's go. And that's what I did. I put it in the back of my head. I was still, like I said, I remember still, I was feeling a little bit cold because my urine now, it was not warm anymore. I remember feeling my pants kind of cold. And my sergeant said, we gotta go. So we end up, going to this specific area. We attacked this base. We're kind of late, and then we pushed back. And by the time we got back to the truck, we're back to our rally point where my platoon was. I remember my sergeant was complaining, this freaking private was flashing, he was flagging me, whatever. So I remember he made me do 30 push-ups or something. He was also getting chewed up because, he forgot his radio. And that was it. That was the whole event that happened that night. But I was able to put in the back of my head, like, what I saw, it was a horse. And I realized it wasn't a horse, until like 4 days later, when I was able to go back to the barracks. And I can see a picture too. I have a pretty cool wallpaper for my computer when there's these horses that are running towards the right, and you can see the paratroopers landing in the drop zone. And at the time, 2010, Facebook was, big time. The main thing that I did when I went back to the barracks, I was trying to go to Facebook. So I turned my computer on, and I remember looking at the wall screen, and then I realized horses have this long face. And when this animal looks to its right, when it was in front of me, that's not what I saw. I saw it was a snout, like a canine snout. So I realized this is not a horse. And then I started looking around in pictures, and yeah, horses have like eye shine, but it was not this orange yellow eyes that were so captivating. It wasn't scary at the time, but it was captivating. And also horses, they kind of like when they stand up, you can see they're kind of like, they had this figure like it thick, but they were not that thick. Like the thing that I saw was from shoulder to shoulder, it was just massive. I gotta say probably, I don't know, 4 feet and wide. It was just unbelievable. So that's when I realized it was not a horse. And I realized what I think was probably just I came across a demon. And that wasn't back in 2010. I never heard the term Dogman. Even if you want to talk about Bigfoot, I'd never believed in that sort of thing. So for 11 years, I truly thought that what I saw that night was a demon. I even asked around to a couple of people in the base if there is some sort of a Native American burial ground, and they say no. Because if that was the case, the whole area would be like literally off limits. There were not supposed to be any sort of training because that's kind of like a sacred type of place. But there was nothing. And they asked me, "Wow, you saw the box witch?" And I was like, "What the hell is the box witch?" And apparently there is a lore about these women that roams in the woods inside Louisiana. The classic, dress in white and just roams around the woods. But I never saw it. But the sergeant that I asked the question about, this is sort of a Native American burning ground there. He said, no, there's nothing there. And he kind of laughed. Yeah, oh, you probably saw the box witch. And he walked away. And that's it. For 11 years, I thought it was a demon. Until 2021, I got into a motorcycle accident. And I was somewhere like 2 months in the hospital. But like I said, before that, the very first experience for me was kind of scary because I started having a lot of nightmares. And I'm thinking, well, maybe if I came across a demon, I'm going to have the typical, the infestation things and probably going to scratch me in the middle of the night. But never happened. The only remember me having is just nightmares. It was like, it was the same dream all over again. It was something was chasing me in the woods. I was looking back. I wasn't able to see anything, and then something would push me in the back, and I was literally, fall flat face in the ground, and I will wake up. But I never had any sort of like a dark shadow in my room or anything. So after that, I remember I was kind of scared of being in the woods. But I became kind of fascinated on the concept of the paranormal because now I know what I saw. I truly thought for 11 years, I thought it was a demon. So I literally started watching all these documentaries and shows about ghosts and demons and stuff. And I became fascinated by it until 2021, when I came across this show called These Woods Are Haunted. And season 2, episode 1 is about these 2 brothers and a friend that went fishing in Texas. And at that time, like I said, at the time I was still at the hospital. I was looking at a show, the TV was in the background, but I was in my cell phone. I was playing a game. I remember it's kind of like a farm bill, but it was not on Facebook. It was kind of like, it was a game that I was playing with my daughter. It's kind of like you have this virtual farm. I was taking care of my cows and my sheep and my whole life. But I was playing, in my cell phone. But the show was in the background. And the thing that caught my attention was when one of the brothers said, that's when it stood up. And it kind of like took a half a second in my brain to process it. That's when it stood up. And when I put my phone down and I look at the recreation of the show, that was like literally 80% of exactly what I saw. It was this friggin' thing getting in two legs. And I had this like little weird feeling in my stomach. Like, what the hell? Other people saw this thing? And then you can feel, you can see, at not the end of the show, but when one of the brothers was trying to look online, what was that? And then he came across the term Dogman. And I was like, what the hell is Dogman? So I started looking online. And that's when I came across, that there's things that people see all the time. It's kind of like Bigfoot. Even though I never saw Bigfoot, but there's people that encounter these things all the time. And then I remember in season 3, there's an episode called "I'm Looking at a Werewolf," when there's this guy, Roy Stubblefield, if I'm not mistaken, this big guy. He was talking about encounter that he has when he was stationed in Louisiana. And I remember I looked him up. I went to Google, and that's how I came across the podcast when he actually came and kind of like was able to go into details of what happened to his parents. But then I came across this little area that I never actually saw was real. Dogman. People see it all the time. And I was baffled by it, to the point that now I'm just fascinated by it. I want to see it again. I talked to a couple of friends in Florida, and there's an area we found in Ocala where there's apparently some people see this the thing like once in a while. And, we're going to go and look them up. But, yeah, that's my whole story, brother. I was a full-blown atheist. I thought I was a demon for 11 years until I came across the term Dogman. That's how I'm right here now talking to you, because I know you had your encounter with it as well.
I know what episode that you're talking about too, with those guys in Texas. That was one of the ones that stood out to me as well when I was watching that show.
I did, like I said, it was the first time I heard the term Dogman. I never ever heard the term, because through years when I was watching that show, I saw this show was related to Bigfoot, haunted cabins, and people doing devil worshiping. But I never ever heard the term Dogman until I saw that episode, season 2, episode 1.
Yeah, I never heard of it before until after whatever I encountered. I went home and drew up what I saw and got online to some forum, and someone said something about the Michigan Dogman, and that's how I come across all that stuff. And again, I'm kind of like the same mindset you were. I'm very skeptical. Even today, I struggle fully accepting what I saw, because to me it shouldn't exist. And my brain just won't process the fact that these things that people tell me, the stories that they're telling me and everything else that I hear, I was like, in the back of my mind, I want to just think it's all bullshit, because my brain won't process that this could be real. But the fact that I've encountered stuff myself that I can't explain, like, who am I to say that these people are not telling the truth, because it's crazy stuff. But
it doesn't make any sense, brother.
Yeah.
At least, for example, Bigfoot, you go back to Gigantopithecus, it was something that was, before, 300,000 years ago. And the funny thing is, scientists, the only thing they have about the Gigantopithecus is only the jaws and a couple of molars and stuff. So they don't have a full body. So you're not thinking like, what's going on? Do they maybe bury their dead? But like I say, at least Gigantopithecus was real. But this canine that could walk on two legs and has claws, and it doesn't make any goddamn sense. So that's why I'm still fascinated by it, because it doesn't make any goddamn sense. But I know what I saw. And thanks to my encounter, like I say, 11 years later, I was able to come across the show, and I was like looking at these different encounters that people have. It was like, I know I'm not crazy. I know what I saw, and I know there's a lot of people that saw it, you included. So we're seeing something that doesn't make any sense, that is real, but I guess it is. Then I came across other people. For example, I met this guy who was he lived in Louisiana, and he had these massive like bolts inside the house, and he had like shotguns all over the place because he saw one. And he told me, this fucking thing came in the middle of the night. No, I'm sorry. He saw it in the afternoon, and then I guess it followed him, and it came to his house, and he was literally sleeping, and he started hearing like a tapping noise in the glass, and he was like, "What the hell?" So when he woke up, he saw this. He told me he saw red eyes, and the thing was literally tapping in the window. And when he was able to see it, he did one tap that was so big that kind of like cracked the whole mirror, the whole glass, and it just took off. And the guy was like, literally, I don't know what I saw, but I know before that day, that encounter, before I saw those red eyes, he saw this massive dog, like a big wolf. He said, even though wolves is not in Louisiana, but it was massive. And the guy, literally, he's the type of person that he showed me pictures of him with his brother hunting. He was like fishing and hunting the whole 9 yards. And now the guy doesn't go out at night at all. He's like, dude, after 8 p.m., I'm not going out at all. I know what I saw. I just don't know what it is. I hear people saying, there's a sort of like a hellhound. He used it. That's the name he used, but he's literally the type of person that he was like literally type of hunter, his life with his brother and father before his father passed away, going out hunting, and now he's just like, after 8 p.m., brothers, I'm not going out at all.
It's funny you mentioned hellhound because I was literally just thinking about that. Throughout history, and people can look this up. This is not me just talking out loud, but over here, it's there's been reports for years throughout history all over Europe and obviously Native Americans here and other countries as well. You can look back to ancient Egypt. They had depictions of Anubis, which was a form with had a dog head, wolf head, whatever you want to call it.
Uh-huh.
And then there's been like cave paintings, but also in medieval times, they called them hellhounds. They were these big black wolf things, and some people say they were still dire wolves. I mean, that is, I guess, could be a possibility. You don't really know. No one was really there at that point, still alive to talk about it. But even, I believe it was like the 1700s in France, they had, I can't think of what it was called, but.
Yeah, it was killing a whole bunch of people around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There was that, and then they also had trials, almost like the Salem witch trials, but they were killing people, I'm pretty sure, for being what they called werewolves.
Yeah.
And there's been reports of werewolves and other things like that throughout Europe for hundreds of years.
I came across that sort of information. It's kind of weird, but like I said, there's the only thing I want to say. Dogman is not an animal. We're dealing with a sentient being, because what I saw that day and the way it looked at me, there was a sort of evil hatred, even though I don't remember seeing anything wrong, but there was like this sort of hatred. But it was literally, it's like you look at a human. That's what I thought was a demon, because demons supposed to be in here for, I don't know, thousands of millions of years. They're able to understand humanity, whatever. But this thing, what I saw that day, it was not an animal. It was definitely not just an animal.
It has I won't say the word human instinct, but it has almost of an intelligence to itself that it understands.
Yes. I found the term existential intelligence. Like we have, we understand our place in the universe and the planet, whatever. That thing, what I saw, it was not just like when you look at a bear or a dog or whatever. No, it was, I felt like I was looking at something that was ancient. that if he had a chance to sit down and talk to this motherfucker, I would probably be able to gather a whole bunch of information, because it was not something that you would just, I don't know how long they can live, but I definitely felt there was something ancient about those eyes. The intelligence, I was literally, I was not, as a human beings, you tend to pretend, we're supposed to be the smart things in the planet. No, this thing, the intelligence that I saw in those eyes were just, there was something ancient about it. That's what I'm saying. Dogman is not just an animal. There's something about it that is way, way more complex.
The fact that people say that they've had, and I don't want to misspeak, but basically they've heard them talk to them, like mind speak, I guess. I've heard
I hear that
with Bigfoot as well. Like someone has said that they've heard voices call out to them. And then I interviewed someone before, and we're not sure if it's a Dogman or what, but he said his wife had heard her name being called out and it sounded like her mother's voice. And then his son, his stepson, heard his mom's voice in the middle of the night trying to get him to come outside at like 3 a.m.
Yeah, that's creepy.
There's been other people that have reported seeing this thing look through their window, and it's kind of like what you said, it was almost smiling at them.
Yeah, no, no. Now I'm 100%. That sucker was smiling. When he noticed I peed my pants, he's smiling, because when I saw the teeth, brother, the teeth were like, it kind of looked like metal. They were that shiny, because even though, like I said, it was pitch black, I don't remember what kind of moon we have, but there was sort of basic illumination. I was able to see the wet nose. I was able to see the teeth, and those massive, that I thought they were horns. And like I say, I'm 100% that sucker was smiling because I peed my pants. And what kind of animal has that capacity to just like, I think they get a kick out of, scaring people. Because I was literally expecting some sort of growl when he showed me the teeth, but he didn't. So now, after all these years, I realized this sucker was laughing at me. He smelled that I peed my pants, and it was just, yeah, I got you, bitch.
I think that's something that they kind of feed off of, and I don't think that I don't know how to describe what I'm thinking other than I don't think they're of this world, and by that I mean I don't think they're from our realm, if that makes sense. I think they come here from a different side of the veil, if that makes any sense. I'm not saying they're demons, but there's something strange about them that almost has a demonic thing to them. Like, why does it have to, if it's this big evil creature that can just break down a door, why does it tell people to let it in? Why do you have to open the door to let it in, or let me in this window?
Yeah, or sometimes when he literally goes to houses and just start messing with their, doorknobs, this thing can literally just barrel through your house.
Mm-hmm.
Because, but the thing, like I said, the thing that I remember feeling was just a sense of evil. So I don't know what it is. So I don't want to call it demonic, but when it was looking at me, a sense of hatred. The hatred was something that it was so intense. It was kind of like, I kind of like, I felt like it was saying, you're lucky, not here for you. But the hatred and the evil that I felt from those eyes was just something that it doesn't make any sense. I don't know where they come from or where their purpose is in life, but I know we're not dealing with an animal. And they have a very nasty animosity toward humans.
There's been a lot of people that have come up missing in the parks and in the woods, hunters, hikers, people never without a trace. I know there's like that show, The Missing 411, and there's all sorts of things. I think a lot of the stuff that doesn't get reported,
that's true,
is we don't know what happens, and if they do find these things, they write it off as, well, bear or cougar or something like that, but
the usual unknown, animal. Like I say, I'm from Peru, like I said, and over here, the Amazon, there's a lot of people that go missing here too. And unfortunately, most of the cases usually just write off as police reports, and that's it. So, to the point, I was trying to see if I can start looking into that subject, maybe there is a sort of correlation, because over here, like Peru, Brazil, Ecuador, Colombia, those areas, there's people that go missing all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not reported, as like a missing 411, because, over there is kind of different, Over here, when somebody was missing, you don't have like this sort of like a search and rescue team that is going to come with helicopters. No, it literally just, well, I hope I hope he's alive, Well, there's a lot of things, for example, from illegal mining to drug trafficking. So people might come across those areas and they were like, well, you might be in the wrong place at the wrong time. But this phenomenon of people going missing is not just related to the U.S. Like I say, I talked to a couple of people here in Peru, and they say, yeah, there's also here, but the only difference, we don't have a search and rescue type of things. It's kind of like a police report. My cousin was missing. Somebody was missing. And we're like, well, I hope he shows up.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of bizarre because I was able to talk to somebody. This guy, he had an encounter in the 80s in Tarapoto, which is kind of like a very, very wooded area. And he, with a couple of friends, went to do some ayahuasca. They went to this little camping area. And when they got to the place, they saw this friggin' thing. It was massive. They had green eyes. They said it was illuminating. And just run and took off. So, but you hear some stories, kind of like that happen sometimes in the Amazon. So I definitely think that this thing is definitely not just, unfortunately, we don't hear it, from places like in South America, because over here, for example, culturally, we are very attached to this sort of spiritual thing, like something got you in the woods, maybe it's Satan, maybe, this souls or whatever, but it's something that sometimes some people just let it go. If somebody goes missing, it's kind of like, well, I guess he went to the wrong place. He found the kokui, or, he found a demon, whatever. But there are stories that I hear that people talk about this sort of animal that is massive, that can literally just destroy you. It might be Bigfoot, it might be Dogman, I just don't know. I was not able to get in the sort of like a specific description. The only thing I was able to get was it was massive. It was just absolutely massive.
Were you able to see like the shape of its arms or hands or anything like that? Or
no, shoulder to shoulder, yes. Yeah, from shoulder to shoulder, the thing was just massive, bro. It was just incredible. And then when it jumped, that's when I was able to see the tail, kind of flopping in the air. But besides that, I was not able to see because the thing was literally like pitch black. It was like darker than dark. But the eyes, bro. If I can send you the picture, what I was able to get from this specific picture that I was able to, process it, it's like literally 95% of what I saw. So if I can send you a picture, you're going to see what I saw. But it was literally 10 feet away from me. From shoulder to shoulder, it was massive. And then what I thought with the horns was just the ears. But all the detail, brother, I was not able to see it because, like I say, it was behind a bush. And that's it, man. I was not able to get any other details, but I'm fascinated by this thing.
With mine, and other people, they described it almost as the typical Hollywood style werewolf.
Yeah.
What I saw didn't have the hands like a hand of a werewolf. Like it still had the dog paw look to it. And
okay.
That's what I thought. That's why I've always wrote it off as it just had to have been a dog, but I don't know of any dog that stands up on its back legs like a person and looks at you for a couple seconds and goes off.
Dogs can do it, but jumping 10 to 15 feet in the air and then run. Like I said, when I was shaking my head, like looking at the ground, trying to wake myself up, I thought it was in a movie or in a dream because this thing was just unbelievable, brother. The way it was moving, it was very tactical, but it was heavy as hell. And I know 100% sure that it was a tree in front of him and he just pushed it away because the sound that I heard before it was kind of this tree falling. And it was literally in the direction when this thing ran. So just the brute strength of these things is just unbelievable. I wish I could, understand more about it, but I don't know. But like I told you, we're not dealing with an animal. This is not a bear. This is not a little, crazy wolf. No, there's something else about them.
A lot of people post up these photos. You never get a clear photo. You never get a clear video.
Yeah.
And it goes with all sorts of these creatures. And that's kind of where I go back with my theory of maybe these aren't of this world. And that's part of the reason why we can never get a good photo of them, because...
Or maybe throughout evolution, they were able to develop cloaking.
Yeah.
Cloaking, it doesn't have to be supernatural. Because I remember had this conversation with this person that they were actually somewhere in the Appalachian Mountains. They were doing some hiking, and they saw something that it looked like like the movie Predator.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of like, but it was like he was able to actually tell me, no, I have to look in that direction to notice it, because if it was me just walking, or I will look left and right, I will not able to notice it. But the fact that I was able to stop and look at that area, and that's the only reason why I saw, because it moved. They say, it looked like he explained, like a piece of plastic, and it kind of, the whole thing moved, and he was with his girlfriend. He just run for the life, because but the cloaking thing, it doesn't have to be supernatural. You think about it, maybe they have the capacity to to do that, because like I said, what I saw that day, it was very ancient. It was not just like you and I. There's something very, very ancient about it, and yeah, like I say, I'm 100%. We're not dealing with just an animal. There's something about them that is way, way more complex.
I'm not a very religious person or anything, and I'll never push that on anybody, but I think a lot of people can agree that the stories of the Nephilim, when it comes to stuff like this, I could almost see it being a possibility, just because they have that otherworldly vibe to them. So I don't know if anyone out there, I'm sure if you're listening to this, you probably know what a Nephilim is.
Yeah, I hear a little bit. But the problem is, right now we're just literally dealing with some sort of like a what it might be.
Yeah.
We don't really know what they are.
No, we'll never.
Okay.
I don't think we'll ever 100% know, just because I don't see it ever being anything that is ever opened up to the public about, even if the governments know about it, or if they have a body of it or whatever. I think that they do know what these things are. They just don't open too much about it, just because of, I think, the ties of what they actually are. And again, are they interdimensional? Are they from a spirit realm? Are they demonic? Are they...
Yeah, you see, right now we're just literally scratching for some sort of answers, but it's quite bizarre. For example, for me, like I said, my experience, I don't know if that red light, the pulsating red light, has anything to do with that, but it happened within the whole thing. So I just don't know what that means, that red light, that it literally, like I say, before that, the woods went quiet. And
did you hear a sound after,
no,
like during the red light or anything?
Nothing. It was quiet. Even people talk about, for example, the specific smells, like the running. I didn't smell anything, brother. I didn't hear anything until I hear something to my 7 o'clock. It felt like somebody was stepping on a heavy branch, and that's when I looked, and that's when I saw this. What I thought was a boulder behind this bush. But before that, I didn't hear anything. I didn't smell anything. The only thing that I saw was just this bizarre red light that was like to my 10 o'clock. It was pulsating. That's it. I don't know if it had anything to do with it. I'm sorry.
So there's been some discussions here in the last couple of years, and it does kind of tie back into what I was saying about otherworldly. These things, from what I've heard and read about and listened to from other interviews and stuff, they claim that some people have seen or heard like a metallic sound, almost like a grinding sound, and some have seen some lights, and they say it's like a portal opening up where these things come into our world from. That's why I was asking if you've heard anything, because the pulsating light could have been where it's entering into our reality, I guess. Your mic's muted. I don't know.
I'm sorry, my bad.
No,
My bad. I'm kind of stupid with this. But like I say, yeah, I didn't hear any sort of noise. The only thing for me was when the woods went quiet. That was the bizarre part of it, because I wasn't able to understand it. Now I know what that means. But that red light, pulsing red light, I just to this day, I'm not able to explain it away. I just don't know what it was. So I don't know if it has anything to do with Dogman showing up. I really don't know. But at this point right now, we have more questions than answers. It's quite bizarre.
That's what I've said to someone else recently. It's like when you start diving into these stories and encounters and experiences, and you're looking for answers, all you're going to find is more questions than answers, because it's just a rabbit hole that you keep digging, because no one, you or I or anyone else, can really sit here and tell someone exactly what these things are, what they've seen, where they come from, because none of us really know. We're all just making guesses.
Yeah, that's true, brother. That's true. Like I say, I met a person that actually he had an encounter somewhere in North Carolina, and he sees these things like every 2 or 3 years. He's like, I don't know how they showed up. It's like just every 2 or 3 years, I see this sucker just standing there, and I don't see it again. There's no attack. There's nothing that goes missing. There's no harassing, but it just showed up like so many years. But he actually explained. I know it's the same thing because he has the same color. He told me he had like a little. It looks like a bow tie, kind of like a gray bow tie around the neck, and that's how I was able to recognize that he's the same sucker that I've been seeing for almost 10 years. But I don't know what it is. He was not able to get close to it, but it's quite bizarre. It's quite bizarre.
I've always thought it was strange with technology the way it is now. Everyone has a cell phone. Everyone's got a camera on their phone.
Yeah.
Everyone's got trail cams if they're hunters out in their woods for deer or whatever they're hunting. And then lately, everyone's got these home security systems to where if something comes up on your deck, it's usually on your doorbell. If they got the Ring or some sort of camera system. There's so much technology right now that it's strange that we still can't get a clear shot of one of these things.
Yeah, like I said, just a perfect, many for the bunkers. Like we have billions of cameras out there. Why is nobody catching like actually like a 4K? I'm pretty sure if you find somebody posting up, a clear picture of a Dogman, a Bigfoot, everybody's gonna just literally jump on top of it. Say this is fake. Yeah. Literally, the whole thing, it's just so deep into just lies and fakes and a whole bunch of shit that literally you showed up with a 4K picture, you're gonna get beat up.
Yep. The only way, and you're still gonna have people fighting and arguing that it was faked. The only thing that I've said, if I was to ever see something like this again, I hope I have it in my right state of mind to pull out my phone and go like Facebook live streaming or something to where it's not like a recorded video or anything. I'm literally seeing this and the world can see it. It's happening too. Whoever ends up scrolling through and sees my video going on, it'll either be getting eaten by a dog man or something. That's the only way that I think something like that's going to be happening. And someone will still say, "Oh, that was faked." But
maybe somebody was able to kill one and get it to a laboratory. But other than that, brother, it's just so many fuzzy pictures and things like that. But like that's what I'm saying. When you showed up with a 4K picture of a dog man, everyone's gonna literally beat you up for being a fake.
I've heard a story before, and I'd have to go back and find it. But someone claims they blew one's head off with a shotgun, and then they had the body of it, and supposedly the police showed up with it, and then they took it and threatened to arrest the guy. And I don't know. It's one of those stories. I'm like, I mean, could it be true? Possibly, but it's awful convenient that the police show up and to take it off, and then I don't know. Like I said, I don't try and discredit anyone, but at the same time,
Okay.
I take everything with a grain of salt sometimes, just because I know there are people out there that just I don't know what the intentions are, but they're out there just to rattle off some BS, and it's just like I don't know.
Well, I mean, bro, you have to understand there's people that truly have the intention to show what happened to them, but there's also the sort of misinformation, and it literally just like send a whole bunch of crap on top of the stories and say, everybody's lying, everything is fake. So I don't know if that's intentional or maybe it's just people that don't have anything else to do with their life. Like I said, for me as a former atheist, now being in this position, I was like, holy crap,
It
it
changes
will
your whole
make a lot.
perspective.
Yeah, it's 180%, 180 degrees. My whole life just switched. And like I said, for 11 years, I thought it was a demon until I came across the term Dogman in 2021. But before that, I was literally understanding it because when you're an atheist, you have the little metallic bubble, and you literally become a debunker. It's easy to explain. You can do the things, and not only that, you create some sort of ego because you feel you're special. You think the billions of people that believe in religion are stupid, and millions of people that have paranormal, they just don't know what they're seeing. So you create this sort of ego by being an atheist. So when I had that encounter, it was kind of like a slap in the face saying, hey, be humble, motherfucker. There's things out there that you don't understand. And for me as a whole, it was a positive experience. It was scary at the time, but it made me extremely open-minded. I'm still skeptical about things. If somebody want to talk about, I don't know, Jersey Devil or the Loch Ness Monster, I'm still have my filters in that. But if this thing is being seen a lot of times by a lot of people, and the same goes with Bigfoot. I never saw Bigfoot, but the same thing goes. There's thousands and thousands of people that see the thing all the time. And if you put this, for example, in perspective, let's say of 1,000 people, one people actually is saying, is telling the truth, is game changing because he is just one of them. It means that there's something out there.
I don't think people understand that when they want to debunk things and they want to say everything's misidentification or whatever and write it all off. I don't think they quite understand that this isn't just a localized thing. Like, there's been reports for these things, again, like I said earlier, all over the world for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
So why did they make stories up about things? Why did they make cave paintings about this? Even with Sasquatch and the Native Americans, why were they talking about, there's hairy people? They had names for them, different tribes of them.
Well, but because the problem is when people talk about the scientific method, I'm sorry, it kind of like science, it became like a dogma now. Science is supposed to be open mind, there's the evidence, and we're supposed to study it and look for the truth. But now it's kind of like closed mind. It became like a dogma now. If you try to bring something else into this, you will literally be attacked like 100%.
Science was about proving things and proving theories, and now it's literally to disprove everybody. And if you don't believe in the science, and you're stupid.
Yeah, now it's literally dogma.
Yeah,
it's literally just like literally, if you bring something that is to the table that is not approved by the rest, well, you're gonna be treated like shit.
Yeah, that's how the world has now become. If we don't trust in the science that's been already told that's the way it is, it's one of those things. It's like,
don't get me wrong. Like I said, I'm a very skeptical person, but I hear some of the so-called scientists talking about some stuff, and I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with these people?
We also have to go back to wonder who pays for the scientist.
Yeah, you're right. You're 100% right. There is a lot of things that go on. For example, you want to talk about, for example, just the UFO thing. Back in the 50s, you were want to talk about, oh, you're crazy. Now, there is congressional hearings about that. There is things that fly in the sky that we don't know what they are. I'm not saying they're aliens. I'm saying, there's, extraterrestrial, but there's definitely things that flying in the sky that even, for example, when I was in Afghanistan, I was able to talk to a chief, I don't know how to which name is this guy, but it's a chief warrant. They were doing a mission south of Helmand provinces, and they say, this little thing, orange, thing, was following them for almost 20 minutes. It got reported, but it was dismissed. It was probably, I don't know, some sort of drone. But even though, like, back in the day when I was in Afghanistan, it was 2012, we didn't have this, like, we had drones, but they kind of resemble like a little plane. You literally have to run and just throw it in order to, to the drone to get some sort of flight. But this sort of drones that, with different, with four propellers that can just do these crazy maneuvers, we didn't have that back then. And yeah, he explained to me that thing, like, I saw this thing. He literally followed us for almost 20 minutes. This orange thing that was literally, and then you go back now to World War II, the Foo Fighters, like these things that were literally flying around, allies and enemies, and you're like, what the hell is this thing? That's how they were the Nazis, but it's quite up. But now, like I say, you talk about this type of thing now, is more accepted. But you want to talk about this like maybe like 70 years before, they will literally treat you like shit. So I eventually, I think the whole issue with, for example, Bigfoot, eventually is going to change. But I just don't know. It's just because right now, you and I, you're literally just scratching for information of what happened, of what sort of creatures are, like interdimensionals, demonic. I really don't know. But I do know this. We're not dealing with an animal. This is not just your regular wolf that nobody was able to catch. There's something else about them.
Yeah, but there's definitely a very odd.
Yeah.
I don't know the proper term, but there's something very odd about it. It's not just a normal dog or a normal wolf or something. There's more to them than that. They're definitely an intelligence because, again, for 17 years, I've wrote off what I saw as just a dog. And even today, I want to say, yeah, it was just a dog. But again, I can't wrap my head around the fact that it stood up and looked at me and then went off on its way that just basically disappeared.
Yeah. Like I say, it's kind of hard. For me, like I say, since 2010, I've been having this sort of issue. So I'm still in this little, like, I'm maybe I misidentified something. Maybe I was not able to see properly. No, but I know 100% what I saw. So I'm not fighting anymore. So like I say, I'm still a skeptic, but I know what I saw. And it was not a pretty thing.
Yep. That's the way I try and be.
And I'm gonna see a picture, brother, because like I said, I found a couple of pictures online, and I was able to do some editing to show you, like, literally, it's like 98% of what I saw that night.
Yeah, you can go ahead and send them. I've actually recently found something, I think it was yesterday, that looks very similar to what I had saw, but the thing is, it has big old hands on it and stuff. I was like, it didn't have that.
Okay, yeah, man. At this point, it's fucking crazy, man. It's just kind of, in a way, it's fascinating, but even though, like I said, I have this little plan with a couple of friends that we're going to Florida. Even though I have high hopes, I truly think I'm not able to find an answer. If I see another one, you might see it, but try to come to actually, the actual final answer to explain what that is, I don't think it's going to happen.
I feel like when people are actually all looking for these things, they don't find them. I think it's when you don't know they exist and you don't really know what to expect. I think that's when it happens more to people, is because
that's true.
It seems like it goes after the ones that have no idea about it, because then that's the one's going to be the most scared. Because if you're out there hunting this thing, it's not going to show itself, because why would it? If it's out there to feed on your fear or anything else like that, like if it gets its jollies off on scaring the shit out of people, why would it come up to people that knows it's out there?
Yeah, that's true. And I hear the same thing with Bigfoot, like there's people that go literally decades looking for the thing. And then there's just this kid that was driving around in a four-wheeler and just saw one.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of like, maybe it's, I don't think it's like winning lottery, but it's probably, maybe they make a decision when to show up and who to showed up with. But at this point, like I said, we're still doing this sort of like a try to explain things, but we don't know if 100% that's true.
Yeah. And again, that's just my thoughts on it, because I feel like, especially with these TV shows where these people are out hunting Bigfoot or whatever, and they're out here banging on trees and making screams and everything else. I'm like, I'm pretty sure if this thing's out there, it's not going to come to you because it knows what you're doing. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
clearly intelligent enough to know the difference between what you're doing to what it does. Like, you're not doing the same thing.
Yeah, that's true. For example, don't get me wrong. For example, I never had any contact with Bigfoot, but there is a show called Bigfoot Expedition Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, they had this little scientist from Miami. She's a primatologist, and when you look at the show, they found some weird shit to the point that this scientific lady, she's like very confused. To like, I'm seeing things that I don't know how to explain it. I know, for example, I live in South Florida, and I know she actually teaches, I don't know what kind of course, but in the University of Miami. And before one of her predictions, she brought some of the for example the FLIR camera. You see the thing is like giving up heat, and then it just disappears in the middle of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And he's trying to like say, how can we explain this? And he's like, well, this. But he has, the open mind. She's very open-minded to bring this already, but she's also very confused about, there are some things that really even though in one of the episodes says, I've been in different forests all over the world, in Africa, here and there, but when I go into these expeditions, it's like just you feel like there's another pair of eyes looking at you, that you're being observed. And she's able to actually understand, there is something weird about, this sort of experience people thought, well, most people want to talk about, there's probably so sort of primate that is not identified, but when you watch the show and you hear her, and she's kind of confused, there's something else out there, and she's very baffled by it too.
Yeah, I actually interviewed someone a couple episodes ago who was actually on an episode of that. He was an archaeologist, and he for burial sites and stuff like that. And he's had a Bigfoot encounter. So
Okay.
he's definitely a believer, but he was on that show. They talked about how they could possibly bury their bodies and stuff like that. So
yeah, because you have to say, why is that? For example, the Gigantopithecus. The only thing we have is the jaws and some moles and canines, but they don't have a full body. Even though we know that thing existed, it was real, but there's no full body. So maybe they not only bury their dead, but they bury in specific areas that it will literally become almost impossible to just find, for the rest of the people to find remains of this thing. So we literally just don't know. But there is something more complex about it. I'm 100% sure that we're not dealing with an animal. There is something more about it.
The skeptics and everything that are always writing that off, and the hunters that say, I've been out in the woods my entire life and I've never seen this and that. I've always got the question of, okay, well, how many times when you've been out hunting have you ever ran into a mountain lion or a bear?
Yep.
Or a dead body of a mountain lion or a dead body of a bear? Like, how often do you ever find a carcass from a predator?
Yep.
You don't.
That's true. And we know the real. Hello?
Yeah, I'm here. I don't know what happened. I think my internet cut out or something.
Yeah, my bad. Also, probably it's kind of weird. I don't know. I just went to a house that somebody has that's some sort of a paranormal shit. Since I came back, I don't know, I've been having sometimes the internet goes out, my computer shuts off, the battery gets drained. I don't know. I'm not going into that, sort of detail, but it's kind of bizarre, since.
Well, I've never had issues like this until recently, and
yeah,
it
was last week.
They've only been happening more so when we talk about specific topics.
He was literally yeah, you can literally focus it. It's just because I've been here for almost 3 months. But since I came back from that freaking house, um, I've been having this sort of like weird shit, like my computer. Sometimes I find my phone in the bathroom. Like I didn't went to the bathroom with my phone, so I don't know. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not into it personally. I'm still, like I said, very skeptical in that kind of sense. But it's quite bizarre, that I've been having these sort of experiences since I came back from that freaking house that's supposed to be haunted. Yeah.
There's another podcast that was my latest episode that came out. They've had issues when they talk about dogmen and stuff, and I've been having the same problems with internet connection when we start talking about dogmen and stuff. So I don't know if that's a coincidence or a synchronicity or
Oh,
whatever anyone wants to call it, but the last few episodes that I've recorded with people that have had dogman encounters, they've had internet issues.
okay. Well, I mean, at this point, we really don't know how that goes.
Yeah, it is just
It could be
strange.
anything. It could be just basic. It's just strange. It's very, very strange, and that's for me. That's what makes it fascinating. To the point that,
Mhm.
like I say, I hear a lot of people say, you don't want to see this thing. No, I truly want to see it again. I want to see the sucker.
Just to
Or I want to wave
verify
it.
what you saw.
Hey, no, just to just to see it again. I don't know. It's just I want to wave it. Hey, what's up? I'm fascinated by it. I'm completely fascinated by it. But yeah, like I said, I'm not gonna go into the woods, without a weapon. But I definitely want to see it. Want to see it again, and I hope I can do it. If I can catch it in picture, well, I may be talking to you again. But
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely. If you find something or able to take a picture of it, I definitely want to see it. I'm sure everyone out there listening would love to see it
yeah,
too.
yeah.
But I just say if
Yeah,
you're
but
out
like I
there looking
say, I'm
for it,
gonna send
definitely
you.
be
I'm gonna
careful.
send you. Yeah, yeah, for sure, brother. Don't get me wrong. I'm gonna, be very. But I'm definitely gonna send you the picture that I was able to, compile with some of the things that I was able to find online to give you like a 90% exactly of what I saw. 10 feet away from me, let's forget it.
Definitely, yeah. Send that along.
I even have it I even have it as a background on my cell phone. It's because it's literally 90% exactly what I saw, bro. Yeah.
Well, I think we can wrap this one up if you're good with that.
Yeah, I'm good, but that was my whole experience. It was definitely um, to be honest, I was kind of hesitant about talking to you, but I feel a lot better, and I definitely want to thank you for that. I don't know if it's a sort of catharsis going on, or the fact that it was the first time that I'm able to share the story out with the world, and you're not here to criticize. You're just open minded and see what happened. But I'm good, brother. I really appreciate for your time. I really appreciate for your time, and thank you for listening to my story.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on here and sharing it with us. It's definitely been a pleasure. And the thing for anyone listening and for you, I do this just for what you just said, basically. I want to give everyone a platform that felt like they couldn't talk about it, a place to talk about, because for 17 years, I felt like I couldn't talk about anything because of the ridicule and the fear. And that's not what I'm here for. Like, I literally want people to be able to feel like they can talk and not have to worry about it.
Yeah,
Because having that on your chest for so long and not being able to talk about it, it becomes a heavy burden.
yeah, brother. Like I say, I had nightmares for years about not related to ghosts and bullshit because for 11 years I thought it was a demon. Then I came across the term Dogman, and I was like, "Holy crap!" Uh, I want to talk about it, and I'm glad I came across your platform. So, and like I say, right now I literally felt like I just when I was a Catholic, you go and tell all your sins, to the Father, and you get your, hey, go your merry way. Um, I don't know. I felt like, I feel a lot better. Thank you so much. Like I say, I was very hesitant to come out with this, and at this point, I feel very good, and I appreciate for your time and for your platform, brother. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Again, I definitely appreciate it. I know anyone out there listening, they're definitely going to appreciate you coming on here too and sharing your stories with us, because I feel like anyone out there that needs to hear this, maybe it helps someone else accept what they saw too.
That's true, brother. That's true. I agree 100%.
Well, John, we're going to roll on out of here. So again, I appreciate it. And thank you for talking with me tonight. It's been a pleasure talking with you.
Yeah, same. Thank you, Brandon. Appreciate it. Thank you for your time. And like I said, I'll see you in the picture pretty soon. Okay?
All right.
Thank you so much.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, brother.
See you. Anyone out there listening, if you want to be on an episode of Tinfoil Tells, you can send an email to tinfoiltellspodcast@gmail.com. Again, that's tinfoiltellspodcast@gmail.com. Remember to find us on social media. Give us a like on there. Give us a follow, whatever it is you got to do. Share the podcast around. Leave us a review. All that good stuff. It's been a pleasure, but we're going to roll on out of here. So again, thanks to John for coming out here and talking with us. Thanks for listening. Good night, everyone.